What is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And, yeah, I want to talk about this report that just came out. Now, we had covered Avatar, The Last Airbender Netflix series, seems like ages ago now. I think going back to 2019, 2020-ish. In terms of the production on it. And we haven't really talked about it in a while. Obviously, the Netflix Season 2 Avatar series is coming out soon. I think they officially now announced it for March 10th is when it's going to be dropping. So look out for that. But there's something that came out. Now, there had been, like, rumblings. I remember it being talked about briefly, about some rumors of Mike and Bryan, what they wanted to do with the Netflix series before they dropped out and decided not to be involved. Now, this caused a tailwind of basically them just not wanting to do it anymore, and they dropped, and it was huge backlash. People were not happy that Mike and Bryan were not involved, and at the time, I was not happy either, because I feel like the creators are going to know more about the franchise than most people do, because it's their lord. For example, Oda with One Piece right now. There's no way in hell that One Piece would be doing as good as it did without Oda involved. No question about it. You cannot change my opinion on that, especially after how horrible the Cowboy Bebop series was without the creator being involved in that. But as time goes on, when it comes to Avatar The Last Airbender, it seems like it's the latter right now. So we all know that Mike and Bryan did write for episode 1 and episode 6. We don't know how much because there were also other writers involved that were credited in that as well. But we do know that they were heavily involved in those 2 episodes before they left. And those were received as the 2 best episodes. Ironically enough, those were the episodes that most people felt were the best written episodes, which I find very funny with some of the reportings that we now have. So Night Media, which I know websites are leakers and, things that come out. There's a lot of different websites out there that spread bullshit misinformation. We know this. We know this happens all the time. But Night Media, okay, it's very interesting because Night Media actually has been accurately reporting stuff when it comes to Avatar months in advance. So Night Media were the first people that reported the new Avatar anime series, Seven Havens, or Seven Heavens. They were the first people to report that. And they ended up being right about it when they reported it. They reported it months before the news had come out, and then when it came out, it was exactly the way they had originally leaked it. So these guys are pretty reliable when it comes to Avatar. I can't speak on all their other stuff that they've reported, but at least for this, at least for this franchise, they've been pretty accurate on their reporting. Because of that, one of the things that they just recently reported, now again, this is stuff that is coming from most likely Netflix's perspective, so you have to take that sort of with a grain of salt, but it does kind of line up with some of the things Mike and Bryan have been saying recently. So Mike and Bryan recently said that they don't like doing like they don't like rehashing the same stuff. Okay, they don't like retelling the same story again, and that does go evident with some of the work they've done after Avatar: The Last Airbender. With Legends of Korra, obviously they went in kind of a little more different direction with Legends of Korra, and it seems like they're going into a different direction with Seven Heaven, with the next Avatar series. So it seems like that's what they're doing. Now, this report that is out, and I'm going to get to that, indicates that Mike and Bryan wanted to make dramatic changes to Netflix Avatar series. Like, and when I mean dramatic, I mean dramatic. Like, it's not even like the same story anymore. Okay, type dramatic. So to all the people that were mad that Mike and Bryan left, because you wanted the series to be the way it was when you watched it as a child in back in 2005, like I did, or people that just started watching it a couple years ago on Netflix, I guess too. But if you were one of those people that watched it first when it first came out in 2005, like I did, when I was like 12 years old at the time, you would have been very disappointed with how the Netflix series went. Now, I know there's some changes that they had to do in the live-action series for Netflix. Some of them iffy, but still it kept the original idea in mind of the baseline of the story. And some of it kind of even, quite frankly, added to the lore. I said this in my episode review of the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender series when I reviewed season 1. One of the episode reviews I did, and one of my favorite major changes that Netflix did, and I loved it, and I said it at the time when I reviewed the episode. Go check it again if you haven't seen my reviews. But when they changed the part where they basically said that all of Zuko's subordinates that were with him on the ship were basically all the men, soldiers, that were supposed to basically be sacrificed in the whole, army fleet against the Earthbenders, which is what Zuko spoke out a term for, and that's why he ultimately got the mark and then got banished. That wasn't in the original cartoon series, but it was in the Netflix series, and that was my favorite change that they did, because that actually added another layer to why these guys were the ones that were picked to go with Zuko. You know what I'm saying? Like, that I thought was an ingenious change, actually, by Netflix. Because it makes sense that Fire Lord Ozai would banish the soldiers that he was going to sacrifice anyways had Zuko not spoke out a term. You know what I'm saying? It kind of flows in with everything. So I like that change. That was my favorite change that they did in the Netflix series. Because that added an extra layer. But according to what Night Media is reporting, is that Mike and Bryan, one of the major changes that they wanted to do is that they wanted to change Yue from being sacrificed on dying from sacrificing herself to the moon spirit so the moon spirit can be revived. Instead of her dying that way, she was supposed to get killed by an arrow. Like in the Northern Water Tribe battle. She was supposed to get killed by an arrow. Probably was going to get killed by Zhao, right? Admiral Zhao. That's what I think was going to happen. I'm only speculating, but I'm imagining that's what the whole idea would have been. Which I think would have been a dumb change, by the way, because it would have taken away the whole tension of what Yue was trying to do. Yue was sacrificing herself to allow the moon spirit to live again. Because they allowed her to live. because she was going to die had she not taken some of the moon spirit's, energy, basically. So that to me that would have been a horrible change. That would have ruined the whole point of Yue's character. That was the point of Yue's character, was to be the person that was going to end up being the moon spirit. But I guess, and now again, there are more changes that weren't specified, and I'm sure there were definitely more changes that they were going to do, but they never got to because obviously they left the project. But the major change, and again, this is reportedly the major change to why they left the Netflix series was because they wanted to make Uncle Iroh a villain. I said it. They wanted to make Uncle Iroh a villain. That was the deal breaker, apparently. That they wanted to make Uncle Iroh a villain. They wanted Ozai. They wanted Fire Lord Ozai to be killed off after the first season, by the end of the first season, and they wanted basically Uncle Iroh to take over as Fire Lord, basically. And he was going to be the boss at the end, basically, that Aang had to fight. And to that I say, that would have been a horrendous change. Like, I think everybody would have fucking hated that. I don't know about you guys, but for everybody who was defending Mike and Bryan to stay with this series, if this is any ounce of truth to this, if there's any ounce of truth to this, I don't see how that ever would have worked. For one, this is supposed to be an adaptation of the original series. This is supposed to be an adaptation of the original series. Yes, there are going to be changes with live action because obviously the runtime is longer than the Avatar series. Avatar series was like half hour, 24 minutes to be exact, when you don't count commercials. So you got 24 minutes of animation for Avatar The Last Airbender, okay? In the Netflix series, you got probably like 45 minutes of content, right? Because it's an hour series, right? An hour episode, okay? There's no way anybody would have liked that. And so many people wanted Mike and Bryan to stay on this project because they thought they were going to do it better than what Netflix was going to do, because they thought that they were going to do it the way that it once was, with some changes or some exploring more of the lore of the cartoon series that they couldn't do on Nickelodeon. That's what I think a lot of fans thought was the perception of what Mike and Bryan wanted to do with this Netflix series. But if Mike and Bryan got their way, guess what, guys? That would have never happened. Because it seems like, at least from this report, and again, this is from Netflix's perspective, I'm not trying to say this is definitive, but because, again, this report that the Night Media is reporting is from Netflix's perspective. It's not from Mike and Bryan's perspective. I don't think Mike and Bryan has publicly commented on this, but that just feels this way, and it does go into the whole idea of what they're currently doing in Avatar Studio. Avatar Studio, they seem to be, in the new Avatar series that's coming out, it seems like they're going into a completely different direction than what the previous series were like. And a lot of people aren't too fond of it. You know, some of the concept plots for that series is there's two Avatar. Well, there's not two Avatars, but, you know, some people have leaked it that way. It's twins, identical twins. One's the Avatar, one isn't the Avatar, but has other type of abilities or whatever. And then I think it was the whole, you know, because Korra, when she died, a lot of people started to not trust the Avatar anymore, so most people don't trust the Avatar anymore. You know, these are some of the concepts that are being leaked about the new Avatar series. And a lot of people don't like it. Okay? So again, these are things that Mike and Bryan want to do. They have said in their podcasts is that they don't like doing the same thing always. Okay, they've said that they do not like doing the same things always. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think you don't want to go too far away from the Lord of Avatar to the point where the story is completely different. And it just seems like that's what they're doing right now. We've heard some things about the movies, and I know a lot of people are pissed off at the movies right now because supposedly they're not going to actually be in the movie theater anymore. Which I am very pissed off by that too, by the way, because that was what I was looking forward to. I was looking forward to be in the movie theater. You know, I don't want to watch it on a live stream. I wanted to watch it in cinema. I like watching stuff. I love going to the movie theater still. Anytime there's a movie that's out that I want to watch it in cinema. You know, another reason why I don't want the Netflix Warner Brothers deal to go through, which I don't think it will, but you never know. I think it's very interesting now, looking at this now in 2026 and seeing so many fans that wanted, including myself, actually, admittedly, that wanted Mike and Bryan to stay on the Netflix project. But now, guys, if we had gotten that way, man, we would have not, it at least doesn't seem like we would have wanted what we got. So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's incredibly shocking to talk about it. And a lot of people have talked about, in the original Avatar series, one of the writers, Aaron, who was definitely instrumental in a lot of the success of the series, too. I don't think he gets enough credit. Not saying that Mike and Bryan don't deserve credit. They're the creators. They created the Lord. But Aaron, I think, needs to get a little more credit than he gets for the series, because there was a lot of things that Aaron had suggested that were instrumental into the success of the series, like, Toph Beifong. Toph Beifong doesn't exist without Aaron. Mike and Bryan wanted a buffed Earthbender to be Aang's teacher, and Aaron was the one who suggested that no, we should have Toph. We should have a blind woman be the earthbending teacher, and that ended up becoming Toph, who is probably one of the fan favorite characters in the series, as we all probably know. So it's just incredibly shocking, and again, you guys can look at the link. I just only can't imagine what other changes would have happened. And again, I'm not trying to say that the Netflix Avatar series was perfect by any stretch of the imagination, because it wasn't. There were flaws to it. There were some things I didn't like about it. There were some things that were moved from Season 2 to Season 1 that I didn't think were necessary for Season 1. There were other things that I think were kind of rushed. So there wasn't. So it's not like the Season 1 Avatar Netflix series was a masterpiece, because there were definitely flaws to it as well. But based on this, if this is true, the product that we got was definitely better than anything Mike and Bryan wanted to do with the Avatar series, with the Netflix Avatar live action series. It was definitely much better than what at least is allegedly was suggested to have happened. But yeah, that's my thoughts from this news. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to comment, rate. If you like to see my videos, please subscribe. Hit the notification below for the latest contents. Thank you. And that's about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of here. Peace! Also, make sure besides my YouTube channel to follow me on the Twitch, the Instagram, and I do have a Discord link in the description where we discuss various topics, including this one here. And now I'm out. Peace.